Tikang hanaisto kan akong asawa. Ako na ang naging nanay, naging tatay han akong pamilya. Nga tanan ha trabahoon ha balay, pati ang pagpakabuhi akon nga tanan. Simple lat akon hingyap, makatapos lat akon mga anak pag-eskwela.
Buti pa sila, meron panlambingan. Buti pa sila, meron pangkilig. Siguro dapat ibalik natin yung dati. Siguro dapat ligawan kita ulit. Dapat ibalik natin yung lambingan. Ibalik natin yung kilig.
I love you.
Ang pagkukusa sa gawaing bahay ay pagmamahal sa iyong may bahay. Because care work is teamwork.
Nung dati, akala ko ang mga gawaing bahay para lang sa mga kababaihan. Andun lang ako sa mga barkada, inom. Na-realize ko na ang kalalakihan dapat tumulong sa gawaing bahay. Sa aming pagtutulungan, gumana ang aming problemang pinansyal, nakakapasok ng madalas ang aming mga anak.
Dati nung di pa ako tinutulungan, sobrang pagod na talaga ako. Ngayong nagtutulungan na kaming mag-asawa, mas nakaka-focus na po ako sa aking pagtuturo. Siya na yung naglalaba, naglilinis ng bahay, nagpapaligo ng bata kasi ako, mas nakakapag-ayos na ako sa aking sarili at mas naging close na rin po kami ng aking mga anak.
Tikang hanaisto kan akong asawa. Ako na ang naging nanay, naging tatay han akong pamilya. Nga tanan ha trabahoon ha balay, pati ang pagpakabuhi akon nga tanan. Simple lat akon hingyap, makatapos lat akon mga anak pag-eskwela.
Buti pa sila, meron panlambingan. Buti pa sila, meron pang kilig. Siguro dapat ibalik natin yung dati. Siguro dapat ligawan kita ulit. Dapat ibalik natin yung lambingan. Ibalik natin yung kilig.
I love you.
Ang pagkukusa sa gawaing bahay ay pagmamahal sa iyong may bahay. Because care work is teamwork.
Nung dati, akala ko ang mga gawaing bahay para lang sa mga kababaihan. Andun lang ako sa mga barkada, inom. Na-realize ko na ang kalalakihan dapat tumulong sa gawaing bahay. Sa aming pagtutulungan, gumana ang aming problema pinansyal, nakakapasok ng madalas ang aming mga anak.
Dati nung di pa ako tinutulungan, sobrang pagod na talaga ako. Ngayong nagtutulungan na kaming mag-asawa, mas nakaka-focus na po ako sa aking pagtuturo. Siya na yung naglalaba, naglilinis ng bahay, nagpapaligo ng bata kasi ako, mas nakakapag-ayos na ako sa aking sarili at mas naging close na rin po kami ng aking mga anak.
Tikang hanaisto kan akong asawa. Ako na ang naging nanay, naging tatay han akong pamilya. Nga tanan ha trabahoon ha balay, pati ang pagpakabuhi akon nga tanan. Simple lat akon hingyap, makatapos lat akon mga anak pag-eskwela.
Buti pa sila, meron panlambingan. Buti pa sila, meron pang kilig. Siguro dapat ibalik natin yung dati. Siguro dapat ligawan kita ulit. Dapat ibalik natin yung lambingan. ibalik natin yung kilig.
I love you.
Ang pagkukusa sa gawaing bahay ay pagmamahal sa iyong may bahay. Because care work is teamwork.
Nung dati, akala ko ang mga gawaing bahay para lang sa mga kababaihan. Andun lang ako sa mga barkada, inom. Na-realize ko na ang kalalakihan dapat tumulong sa gawaing bahay. Sa aming pagtutulungan, gumana ang aming problemang pinansyal, nakakapasok ng madalas ang aming mga anak.
Dati nung di pa ako tinutulungan, sobrang pagod na talaga ako. Ngayong nagtutulungan na kaming mag-asawa, mas nakaka-focus na po ako sa aking pagtuturo. Siya na yung naglalaba, naglilinis ng bahay, nagpapaligo ng bata kasi ako, mas nakakapag-ayos na ako sa aking sarili at mas naging close na rin po kami ng aking mga anak.
Tikang hanais to kan akong asawa. Ako na ang naging nanay, naging tatay han akong pamilya. Nga tanan ha trabahoon ha balay, pati ang pagpakabuhi akon nga tanan. Simple lat akon hingyap, makatapos lat akon mga anak pag-eskwela.
Buti pa sila, meron panlambingan. Buti pa sila, meron pang kilig. Siguro dapat ibalik natin yung dati. Siguro dapat ligawan kita ulit. Dapat ibalik natin yung lambingan. Ibalik natin yung kilig.
I love you.
Ang pagkukusa sa gawaing bahay ay pagmamahal sa iyong may bahay. Because care work is teamwork.
Nung dati, akala ko ang mga gawaing bahay para lang sa mga kababaihan. Andun lang ako sa mga barkada, inom. Na-realize ko na ang kalalakihan dapat tumulong sa gawaing bahay. Sa aming pagtutulungan, gumana ang aming problema pinansyal, nakakapasok ng madalas ang aming mga anak.
Dati nung di pa ako tinutulungan, sobrang pagod na talaga ako. Ngayong nagtutulungan na kaming mag-asawa, mas nakaka-focus na po ako sa aking pagtuturo. Siya na yung naglalaba, naglilinis ng bahay, nagpapaligo ng bata kasi ako, mas nakakapag-ayos na ako sa aking sarili at mas naging close na rin po kami ng aking mga anak.
Good morning everyone. Welcome to Oxfam's Usapang Gawaing Bahay sa Panahon ng Pandemya webinar. And thank you for taking the time to join us. Kamusta? Maulang umaga para sa atin dito sa Metro Manila and sa ating ibang mga participants sa iba't ibang panig ng Pilipinas. Kahapon, pinagdiwang natin ang Father's Day. So isang belated Happy Father's Day sa lahat ng mga kasama nating ama at maging sa mga ama rin sa buhay natin. Ako mismo ay ama rin ng isang 9-year-old na binata na nga na lalaki. At since katatapos lamang ng Father's Day, ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon ay may kinalaman sa mahalagang papel ng ama o kaya ng mga katuwang sa tahanan, lalo na ngayong panahon ng pandemic. We've been thriving through the pandemic for more than a year. Nakailang combinations na tayo ng letters, no? From ECQ, MECQ, GCQ, I don't know. Nagkaroon na iba't ibang combinations and yet still here we are sa pandemic. Naranasan na rin natin kung paano binago ng pandemya yung buhay natin. Isa na rito yung paano yung mas lalong naging prominent yung mga work from home or mga home-based na mga trabaho. Maging mga negosyo, education, pati yung libangan, no? Isang taon na, more than a year na tayo namamalagi sa bahay, for the most part, ay nagbago na rin kung paano pinapatakbo yung mga household, no? Yung mga gawaing bahay, pag-aalaga sa mga miyembro ng pamilya, or in simple terms, care work. So it's an important term that we will discuss today, itong care work. Meron nga ba nabago at ano nga ba yung nabago sa Filipino household in terms of care work during the pandemic? At paano hinahati yung oras sa professional work at gawaing bahay? Meron ba tayong tinatawag na work-life balance? At paano hinahati yung gawaing bahay? Kanino mas marami? So, personal experience, yung aking parents ay for the longest time abroad sila and then they had to stay home here because of the pandemic. And ngayon ko lang din na experience personally na talagang tandem na sila ngayon sa household work na compare noon na like mother ko lang yung nandito, father was working abroad. Now it's a tandem. It's good to see. So ito yung major point of discussion natin today, no? Pinapag-usapan natin ng care work at yung mga roles sa bahay kasi ito yung mga issue na kinakaharap ng maraming pamilyang Pilipino. Totoo rin na hindi madalas na nare-realize na yun na yung gawaing bahay ay totoong trabaho na kumakain ng oras at lakas. So hindi siya something to maliitin or take for granted. Ang care work, it really takes time and our energy. Sa webinar na ito, maintindihan natin ang paano nagkakaapekto sa ating buhay, sa bawat miyembro ng ating pamilya, lalo na sa kababaihan, yung gawaing bahay. Oxfam is leading the conversation about care work because for decades now, Oxfam is continuously working to realize its vision of a world free from injustice, inequality, and poverty. Oxfam's work globally and here in the Philippines highlights the reality that women and girls suffer more because of traditional gender roles and the lack of women's participation and representation in policy and decision-making processes. No, it's about time na mas maging inclusive talaga for everyone, no? Regardless of gender, regardless of who they are, no. Everyone has the right to be involved, no. Kaya naman sigurado tayo na ngayong umagang to makabuluhan yung ating magiging mga usapan at diskusyon tungkol sa gawaing bahay sa panahon ng pandemya na pwede kayong makibahagi, makiparticipate sa ating usapan sa pamamagitan ng ating Facebook page. Pwede kayong mag-comment sa @Oxfam Philippines at pwede rin kayong mag-tweet tungkol sa ating forum gamit at itag nyo yung @OxfamPH, yan ang Twitter handle ng Oxfam sa Twitter. Gamitin natin yung hashtag na #HomeSquad. Parang ang ganda pakinggan ng ating hashtag for today. Para umpisa nating usapan, kasama natin si Miss Lot Felisco, Country Director of Oxfam Philippines.
Salamat, Bam. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Una muna, Happy Father's Day sa iyo, Bam. Napaka-saya naman na ikaw ang moderator ngayong umaga dahil isa kang ama at naobserbahan mo rin yung sarili mong ama at ina. Kaya may karanasan kang madadala talaga sa usapan na ito. So, maraming salamat at magandang umaga po sa ating lahat na nandito ngayon, ang ating mga panauhin, mga colleagues at ang audience na nasa Zoom o kaya ay sa Facebook o sa YouTube. Masaya tayo to have with us today Attorney Christine Chavez, ang Executive Director ng Philippine Commission on Women, si Vice Mayor Leo Candido ng Bayan ng Kinapondan, Eastern Samar. Magandang umaga po, Mayor. Si Attorney Third Bagro at si Dr. Tina Langit Bagro, ang mga partner natin mula sa Women and Gender Institute ng Miriam College, mula sa OCI Communications Group, at mula sa Investing in Women. Magandang umaga kay Kim and Jed from the Investing in Women team. Kahapon, tulad ng sinabi ni Bam, we celebrated Father's Day and the important role that fathers play in our families. So today, let's continue the conversation about these contributions that fathers and males in the household bring policy and decision making. These existing inequalities and disparities in income, privilege, and access to resources are even more glaring now during the COVID-19 pandemic. At first glance, it may seem like the pandemic has changed gender roles and behaviors at home, such as men spending more time caring for children and doing housework compared to pre-pandemic times. As we have all been in community quarantine of various forms since last March, we have seen how the dynamics inside the household have been changed by the increase in care work brought about by different things. Pwedeng yung increased care of sick members of the family, or yung adjustments to work from home and remote learning. Also addressing the toll on physical and mental well-being of family and household members. And of course, the economic difficulties due to the loss of incomes and jobs and the closing of many businesses. A survey done by Oxfam among households in the Philippines shows that 66% of male respondents have spent more time doing care work. At nasabi nga ni Bam, ano yung care work? It's what we refer to as tasks within the home. For instance, cleaning the house, doing the dishes, doing the laundry, collecting water, preparing meals, and caring for children and elderly members of the household. Another study done by Investing in Women in May 2020 reported that 6 out of 10 families in the Philippines lost their incomes due to suspended jobs, reduced hours and pay, or forced unpaid leaves. Investing in Women reported that the pandemic has adversely affected the mental and physical health of the majority of Filipino families because of the drastic increase in child and elderly care, household responsibilities, and financial worries. But during the pandemic, women continued to bear the burdens of care work disproportionately. When the pandemic happened, there was evidence to show that many women took on primary responsibilities for income generation when men lost their jobs. And the pandemic further intensified the existing inequitable distribution of work along gender lines. A rapid gender assessment of the pandemic done by Oxfam with UN Women and more than 20 other agencies showed that 44% reported an increase in the intensity of care work at home. Of this figure, 68% were women who said they spent more than 5 hours a day doing unpaid care work. Early this year, we conducted a national household care survey, and the data showed that women spend 6.5 hours per day on care work as a primary activity, 3 times more than the average spent by men doing the same. The survey also showed that women spent more time on other care responsibilities, including the supervision of dependents and secondary activities, thus increasing women's hours of care responsibilities to 13 hours per day. And for men, it was an increase to 8 hours. 26% of women and 30% of men indicated that procuring household needs was the most challenging care work during the quarantine. The other most difficult housework include washing clothes, water collection, and fuel collection for cooking and other domestic needs. The findings also point out that inequality starts early. Although care work takes up a large part of young people's work hours, it's girls that spend more time, approximately 6 hours on care work, compared to boys in the same age group who only spend 4 hours doing care work. Looking at the bright side, there's also growing evidence that traditional social norms about productive work or breadwinning and unpaid care and domestic work could be changing due to the pandemic. There's evidence that shows that during the pandemic, male members of the household have increased their share in care and domestic responsibilities. But such behavior may not necessarily mean a shift in beliefs and attitudes about care work. Are men doing care work just because they've been forced to spend more time at home due to quarantine restrictions? Seeing some changes in the dynamics in households with males taking on more care work, we can start asking this important question. Does the increase in care work done by men reflect a shift in the mindset that they must equally share the responsibility of care work? So today's forum and conversation is part of a larger campaign that seeks to address gender norms in the time of COVID-19, where we wish to see positive shifts in gender norms, including among young couples in the urban setting. This is why we're happy to have with us a young couple who will speak with us because they exemplify the equitable sharing of care work responsibilities. There's an urgent need to highlight and reinforce such positive practices which can promote or lead to real changes in social norms towards genuine shifts in gender narratives as well. Before I end, I also wish to thank our partners from the Philippine Commission on Women who have been working so closely with us as we work towards a national framework around the important issue of unpaid care and domestic work. We thank as well our partners working to shape national and local policy in this shared advocacy, among them Senators Sonny Angara and Deputy Speaker Lauren Legarda, and many champions at the local level, including Vice Mayor Leo, who so graciously accepted our invitation to be with us today. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat for joining us in today's forum as we embark on this campaign and work together to reshape the current mindset about care work and about breadwinning. The change you envision to see is a shift in mindset and in gender roles towards more shared responsibilities at home and in the workplace, thereby promoting positive models of behavior. When a critical mass is achieved among urban millennials employed in the formal sector, we believe that these new behaviors can be more considered as the norm, and other sectors within their spheres of influence and in Philippine society in general may then be encouraged to adopt this mindset and take up these changed behaviors. This is our shared vision: more participation by men in care work at home and more genuinely empowered participation by women in the workplace in the formal economy and in society. Maraming salamat po at magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Salamat, Bam.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lot, for the very valuable insights, no? And I'm sure hindi na-realize ng lahat, Ma'am Lot, na talagang mabigat na responsibilidad yung care work, lalo na sa bahay. And hindi lang siya personal concern within the household, kundi isa siyang issue na dapat bigyang pansin, Ma'am Lot, kasi tulad na nabanggit niyo, yung mental health issue, no? The pandemic itself ay masyado ng stressful for many of us, tapos issue pa yung care work na parang may overloading na nangyayari sa mga bahay. So talaga the vision, maganda talaga ay meron talagang sharing, equality among the members of the household, na hindi siya more of a talagang kailangan mo lang siyang gawin, pero kumbaga may genuine concern talaga to help out each other. Parang mas magaan yung karga ng lahat, lalo nga ganitong pandemic tayo. And maganda rin na point out na to start them young, na para kumbaga at a young age pa lang ma-establish na nila yung ganitong norm na hindi lang pambabae ang gawaing bahay. Kumbaga it's for everyone, no? It's part of your responsibility of being part of the family. Thank you, Ms. Lot. And those of you who are with us today can join in on the conversation by sending us your questions in the comment section if you are streaming via Facebook or YouTube. If you are with us via Zoom, you can post your questions in the chat box somewhere there in the below, and we'll answer them later. Promise yan. Or by commenting in Facebook at Oxfam Philippines. Okay, at again, the Facebook page is at Oxfam Philippines and Twitter is at Oxfam PH. So, gamitin natin ang ating hashtag for today na hashtag HomeSquad para dito sa ating mga mahalagang diskusyon ngayong umaga tungkol sa care work. At this point, Attorney Christine Chavez, the Executive Director of the Philippine Commission on Women, will share with us the initiatives to address unpaid care and domestic work here in the Philippines.
Good day, everyone. I hope all of you are safe and well. In behalf of the Philippine Commission on Women, we wish to thank Oxfam for joining the advocacy for the recognition and the distribution of unpaid care and domestic work. We are grateful for this opportunity to share the Philippines' initiatives to recognize and value women's vital role in the care economy. Even before the escalation of the COVID-19 pandemic, women and girls globally have already been bearing the heavier brunt of unpaid care and domestic work. In the Philippines, a Philippine Institute for Development Studies 2019 report showed that across their life cycle, females spend a disproportionate amount of time on unpaid home production, which includes child care, elderly care, and housework, while males spend about twice as much time on paid market work. Unpaid care and domestic work traditionally done by women is critical to the functioning and well-being of families and societies. Various estimates value women's unpaid work to be worth at least 2 trillion pesos or 40 billion US dollars, roughly 20% of the country's GDP. The PIDS study further outlined potential non-monetary contributions of care work that go beyond financial valuation, such as child schooling outcomes, suggesting how home production activities are actually investments towards a higher quality household. Yet policymakers have historically overlooked this kind of work, and it has gone unmeasured in official national statistics. The unequal distribution of unpaid care and domestic work affects women's and girls' right to education, economic participation, as well as rest and leisure activities. It reduces their productivity and increases likelihood of employment in low-paid, part-time, and informal work. Internationally, the value of unpaid care and domestic work has been given more emphasis. The Sustainable Development Goals include SDG Target 5.4 to recognize and value unpaid care and domestic work through the provision of public services, infrastructure, and social protection policies, and the promotion of shared responsibility within the household and the family as nationally appropriate. And at the 19th International Conference of Labor Statisticians in 2013, labor statisticians agreed to begin measuring all types of work, paid and unpaid, in labor force surveys, presenting a challenge for national statistical agencies to develop reliable, comparable, and simple measures of unpaid household and care work. The Philippine Commission on Women is one of the partners of Oxfam in conducting the National Household Care Survey, or NHCS, this year. This research aims to gather information on UCDW, measure care activities, which is often underreported, in standard time use measures, as UCDW may be aggregated or conflated with other time uses, and in the context of COVID-19 pandemic, NHCS will provide evidence on how COVID emergency has affected care work roles and workloads of women, men, and children within the household. According to the survey, inequality starts early. Girls spend more time on care work than boys in the same age group. But generally, care work takes up a large portion of young people's total work. Heavy care work also affects the well-being of women. The research showed that 1 out of 3 Filipina had experienced injury, illness, disability, or other form of harm through their care work in the past 6 months. And the top 3 illnesses are backache, muscle and joint ache, headache and dizziness, and stress and irritability. Recognizing, reducing, and redistributing unpaid care and domestic work is one of the Philippine government's priorities as part of our commitment to address multiple and intersecting factors that limit women's and girls' rights, and to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women and girls, and to promote rights to education and decent work. This commitment is even made more important in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has provided both an added burden and a unique opportunity for the care economy. Firstly, we have worked to recognize and make visible the value of unpaid care work. The Philippines has conducted studies and time use surveys, including early attempts in 1998 and 2007 to incorporate the disaggregated contribution of women and men in national accounts and the value of unpaid home production, although these were not officially adopted as part of the country's system of national accounts. More recently, our commitment to SDG Target 5.4 is translated in the Philippine Development Plan for 2017 to 2022, where generation of data on unpaid care and domestic work is included as part of the strategy to accelerate human capital development. Our Philippine Statistics Authority is also part of the ILO project on methodological studies to develop new guidelines on the new concept of work to measure both paid and unpaid work. The Philippine Commission on Women conducted a survey to assess the immediate effects of COVID-19 on women micro-entrepreneurs through the Great Women Project. Aside from financing, market matching activities, and e-commerce training, the study showed that access to child support services was one of the resources needed by women entrepreneurs to recover from the pandemic. After recognizing the unequal burden of care work on women and girls, we also seek to reduce this burden so they may enjoy equal opportunities in education, economic activity, and other endeavors of their choosing. The Departments of Agriculture and Department of Science and Technology continue to develop innovative equipment and technologies that are responsive to women's needs. The Social Welfare Department's Community-Driven Integrated Development Social Services, or DSWD Kalahi Seeds, organizes women and trains them in planning, establishing, and maintaining water systems which ease women's housework. The Filipino Women's CEO Circle has also sponsored scholarships for grandmothers from indigenous cultural communities to be trained in India to put together solar panels as an alternative and renewable source of energy in their remote communities. At the policy level, we have several laws attempting to redistribute unpaid care and domestic work, such as the Family Code of 1987, which provides for rights and obligations of parents, stating that the spouses are jointly responsible for the support of the family. Particularly, Article 70 provides that the expenses for such support and other conjugal obligations shall be paid from the community property, and in the absence thereof, from the income or fruits of their separate properties, and in case of insufficiency or absence of said income or fruits, such obligations shall be satisfied from the separate properties of the spouses. Article 209 of the Family Code also states that pursuant to the natural right and duty of parents over the person and property of their unemancipated children, parental authority and responsibility shall include the caring for and rearing them for civic consciousness and efficiency and the development of their moral, mental, and physical character and well-being. RA 7192, or the Women in Development and National Building Act of 1992, also provides that married persons who devote full time to managing the household and family affairs shall, upon the working spouse's consent, be entitled to voluntary social security at the private or public system and contribution to provident funds. The contributions due thereon can be deducted from the salary of the working spouse. The expanded maternity leave law passed just last year provides for up to 105 days of paid maternity leave with an additional extension for solo parents. There are also proposals to extend the paternity leave from 7 to 30 days. The Magna Carta of Women also included a unique 60-day special leave for women who undergo surgery due to gynecological disorders. Solo parents are also entitled to 7 days leave, and government workers have 3 days special leaves to attend to family matters such as birthdays, graduations, or attend to funerals. The Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act includes a 10-day paid leave for victim survivors who need to attend to psychological, medical, or legal needs. We also have a law for the total development and protection of children aged 0 to 6 years old by establishing daycare centers in all barangays or villages. The Philippine Commission on Women also encourages government agencies to establish child minding or daycare centers in their offices chargeable to their gender development budgets. Our expanded breastfeeding law mandates public and private agencies to establish lactation centers not only at work but also in public places like markets, bus and train stations, and shopping malls. Lastly, in terms of laws, we have passed the Domestic Workers Law, which has transitioned these previously informal workers to formal by providing them health insurance and social security coverage, minimum wages, written contracts, and paid leaves, among others. The following are also other cost-cutting initiatives also contributing to the call for redistribution of care work. First is in our educational system, teachers are being trained on gender-fair education. Although gender stereotypes are still seen in our textbooks, efforts are being done to update this curriculum with the goal that UCDW and its redistribution is taught to our school children and effectively change stereotypes on gender roles and care work. The conditional cash transfer program by the Social Welfare Department includes, as a condition, attendance to monthly family development sessions where beneficiaries are taught about gender equality, responsible parenthood, violence in the family and VAUC, healthy living relationships between husband and wife, ensuring the health of the pregnant wife, HIV, AIDS, and other sexually transmitted infections. Pre-marriage counseling sessions are also a requirement before getting a marriage certificate, includes topics on responsible parenthood and family planning. We also have programs focused on the role of men and boys, the empowerment and reaffirmation of parental abilities, or ERPAT, is a program of the DSWD being implemented by local governments to develop the capacity of fathers to accomplish their roles and responsibilities at home and in the society. The Population Commission also has the Kalakihang Tapat sa Responsibilidad at Obligasyon sa Pamilya, or Katropa, focused on men's involvement in responsible parenting, family planning, and reproductive health. The government commits to increase male engagement for the program, which has more than 88,000 participants as of June 2020, including through digital platforms. We would like to highlight that recognizing, reducing, and redistributing the burden of unpaid care and domestic work requires a holistic approach, with strong collaboration among government and private stakeholders. Further, we cannot emphasize enough the need for more data to show how the care economy contributes to our economies and to society's development and well-being. We mentioned earlier that the COVID-19 pandemic is both an added burden and a unique opportunity. We said that because school closures and lockdown measures have significantly compounded the care and household work performed by women and girls. But there is evidence in some countries that COVID-19 may be prompting men and boys to help out more in the home. We are very pleased to work with Oxfam and UN Women on an upcoming rapid household care survey in the Philippines, which aims to understand and measure the impact of the pandemic on unpaid care and domestic work. We hope to shine a light on women's invisible burden, which has been exacerbated by COVID-19, and ultimately influence response and recovery efforts that are responsive to our needs. While we have a deeply rooted recognition of the unpaid care work of women and girls in the Philippines, we have yet to provide evidence-based policies and programs that will chart coordinated actions among the government, civil society, and private sector in reducing and redistributing unpaid care work. Therefore, we recommend the following. Make unpaid care and domestic work visible through research, time-use surveys, and other appropriate methods. Strengthen collaboration with relevant government agencies, including national statistics agencies and labor departments, to prioritize evaluation of care work. Provide opportunities for women and men to participate in the labor force while performing care work through paid leaves and alternative work arrangements, among others. Involve private stakeholders and civil society, especially women's groups, in crafting initiatives to recognize the care economy and address the root causes of inequality through education, especially to combat harmful gender stereotypes and gender bias. And of course, provide a platform for men and boys to expand their roles in family and community building. Building back better after the pandemic must also mean that care work, which society is so dependent upon, does not solely fall on the shoulders of women and girls. We call for stronger political will and concrete action to value women's and girls' time and effort invested in the well-being of each family, household, and community. Thank you very much for your time, and we hope that you will join us in our call for the recognition and redistribution of unpaid care and domestic work. Have a great day.
Very enlightening, Attorney Christine. I'm sure our audience today is happy to know that there are initiatives from the government, even private sector, to help make care work shared responsibility at home. No? Salamat sa mga ginagawa ninyo para sa mga kababaihan. Mabuhay po kayo. It's alarming, no, yung mga data that were presented. Like for example, one out of every 3 girls have experienced harm or injury in doing care work, no, from backache to headaches, muscle joints. Parang it could have been alleviated kung talagang shared work for the entire family talaga itong care work. And it's also refreshing to see na engraved sa batas ng Pilipinas natin yung recognition na ang care work should be a shared responsibility, and also encouraging to see na kabahagi tayo nitong global effort na Sustainable Development Goals that recognizes din itong value of care work. And also, of course, na mention din na although problem itong pandemic, there's also an opportunity in crisis. And nakikita nga natin na this is also a good time then to enlighten and empower families na kumbaga share the responsibility. No? I'd like to remind everyone who are with us today dito sa webinar na you can send your questions in the comment section if you are streaming via Facebook or YouTube, via the chat box if you are with us via Zoom. And we'll answer as many questions as we can in the open forum later. Ngayon naman, isang young couple, ang bagets na bagets magkakwentuhan natin. Sila na matagumpay na nag-tag team sa pagpapalaki ng kanilang mga anak sa kanilang professional life bilang abogado at doktor at sa pagpapatakbo ng kanilang household. To add to that, they are the tag team behind the Instagram account, Mrs. Domesticated, where they share about life at home. So let's get to know this couple while they share with us ang kanilang team play sa bahay. So let's welcome Attorney Third Bagro and Dr. Tina Langit Bagro. Good morning, Attorney, Doc.
Good morning! Good morning, Bam. Good morning sa lahat ng mga nanonood.
Okay, so I'd like the audience to get to know the two of you before getting into your story. No? So Attorney and Doc, can you share with us a bit of a background kung about yourself para mas makilala kayo ng viewers. How did you meet? Yung kanyang origin ng love story. It's interesting din kasi magkaiba kayo ng profession, no? Parang magkaibang dimensyon. And both are very demanding. Paano nyo nababalance lahat yun para to make it work?
Okay.
Yeah. Nag-start, we met sa nagkita kami sa UP Diliman. So parehas kami ng kolehiyo sa UP. Tapos doon magkasama kami sa student council actually.
Yeah.
Tapos doon kami nagkakilala. Tapos mula 2003 'yon. Tapos nag-law school ako, nag-med school siya. Dire-diretso 'yon hanggang kinasal kami. Makagraduate kami tapos kinasal kami ng 2013. So nag-start bilang mga estudyante, tapos student council, tapos law student, med student, tapos naging working parehas. Si Tina naging doctor to the barrio pa siya. After niya graduate ng medicine for 2 years, nag-work siya sa Ilocos Sur. So LDR. Yeah. Habang ako naman, nagtatrabaho ako sa executive branch noon for 6 years kay Pinoy. So yun. Tapos we have 3 kids.
Yeah, we have 3 kids. They're si Inigo is 8 years old and Cara is 7 and yung bunso namin ay 3 years old. So basically, nagkakilala kami ni Third nung ang merienda lang namin ay mga mona. Sa UB, wala kaming mga pan-date ng maayos yung gano'n. So, we've seen each other grow throughout the years and we've adjusted a lot also. I mean, it's not, hindi naman siya parang walang challenges, of course. And with the pandemic, of course, mas lalo pang, parang we've learned to respect more yung gusto ng isa't isa, each other's persons and personalities. Yan.
Okay. So tama ba rinig ko 2003 kayo nagkakilala? So 2003 ang student numbers nyo?
No.
Hindi. 2001 ako.
I'm 2000. So
ako,
we were both wait, are you well, okay. Sige, sa labas. So we're so we met in the student council. That's where we met.
That's a side note lang, no? Yung monay na yun, hindi lang yun basta monay. May cheese yun eh.
May
sarap
cheese yun. Dapat. At dapat mainit, di ba?
Pero minsan may ice cream din.
Tama. So, Attorney Third, also known as Mr. Domesticated. No? Bakit yun yung term? Bakit Mr. Domesticated? Kwento niyo sa amin, what do you do at home? And anong paborito niyong gawin? At ano yung pinakaayaw mo rin?
Yung Mr. Domesticated, nag-start talaga yun kay Tina. So, Mrs. Domesticated siya. Tapos na convince niya ako na, sige, let's make it something.
Like a tandem.
Kasi nga, even before the pandemic, medyo alam na namin yung importance ng gawaing bahay and sharing itong gawaing bahay between the couple. Kasi marriage, gano'n naman talaga siya. You share things, the good things and also the normal things to make you survive every day. So, kaya naging Mr. Domesticated. Tapos dun sa question na ano ba yung mga gusto? Ano yung mga favorite ko na ginagawa sa bahay? So syempre favorite ko yung paglalaro with kids. In fact parang ako yung parang laruan din ako minsan ng mga bata. So yun, favorite time ko yun with them. Tapos syempre yung sa kitchen gusto ko ako din kasi medyo OC ako sa mga maliliit na things.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Yung kailangan dry lahat. So, ako yung naglilinis sa kitchen. Tapos, recently, dahil sa pandemic, kasi si Tina mahilig siya sa halaman. Before, wala akong... plantita siya talaga before. So, ako, naguguluhan ako dun sa balcony namin kasi nakatira kami sa condo eh. So yung balcony namin punong-puno. So nakikita ko dumadating na lang lagi yung mga halaman. So, wow, may bago na naman tayong halaman, sabi ko. Tapos nung nag-pandemic na, I wanted the balcony na maging work area or magamit siya for other things. So nilinis ko siya. Tapos mula noon, naging parang na-involved na din ako sa paghahalaman. So naging favorite ko na rin yung paghahalaman and parang mga anak na rin sila. ang turing
Yes.
ko.
Meron siyang panganay, meron siyang
Naging plant Pokemon
widow
na
children.
Oo. So yun. So ngayon, okay na rin na so maayos na yung balcony namin. Tapos enjoy din kasi nakaka-relax din siya.
So very zen experience pala yung pati yung paglilinis ng dishes, pag-raise ng plants. Ano naging system sa bahay niyo para magawa lahat ng kailangan gawin na household work sa isang araw?
So
Paano niyo nababalance?
basically, of course, we communicate a lot. So I think this is one of the key things that we as couples really need to do. Really communicate. So ang system namin, so maybe we can share with you ano yung usual na araw namin. Especially nung, 'di ba, yung like 10 months of the year, usually school time yan ng kids eh. So, our usual day is, si third, siya yung maagang gumigising, 7 a.m. ganyan, or earlier. And then, mag-prepare na siya ng pagkain, ganon. And siya rin manggigising dun sa dalawang anak namin kasi may school time sila ng around 7:30. And then, after that, kami nung bunso ko, kasi yung bunso namin medyo maano sa tulog. Hindi sumasabay sa tulog ng iba. So, napupuyat kami. So, nagigising kami usually, tapos na yung class time nung dalawa. So, from the time na gising ako, hanggang sa mga 8-9 p.m., ako yung bahala na sa bahay, usually. So, ako na yung tumutulong sa kids with their schoolwork. Although sometimes, actually not just sometimes, in between third's work, kasi syempre medyo heavy din yung work ni third, in between, sometimes, nag-aano din siya. Tinuturuan din niya yung kids. So, na ano talaga, during
Parang time management na. So I think we're waiting lang. Yeah.
Yes, and also time management. Yung parang isingit mo lang because you really need to, right? And then in between, so that's what we do. We fix the house, the kids play, yung ganon, everything else in between. And then sa gabi, usually si third, siya yung tagahugas ng lahat ng plato namin. So, lahat ng plato namin na naipon, kung hindi ako nakahugas in the middle of the day, si third lahat yan. Tapos yung watering of the plants also, kasi we collect all the not all, but like yung mga pinaghugasan namin ng mga plato, kutsara, kasi we try to use as much as possible all natural stuff at home so that it won't hurt the environment, kumbaga. So we collect the water from all our washing and even from our bath. And that's what we use to water the plants with. Kasi para yes, mas matipid. And alam mo yon, kasi syempre we recognize na may problema naman talaga sa water supply, 'di ba? So we really need to do our own little things, to contribute dyan sa para maiwasan yung na meron pa ring tubig yung mga anak natin pagdating ng araw. So that's what we do. So yung naipon naming tubig, yun yung pinandidilig din niya. And then yun usually
kasi
yung
sa gabi, pag matutulog na yung mga kids, usually pag kailangan nang matulog. So si Tina na yun with the kids ulit. Tapos ako naman yung mag-aayos ng kusina ulit kasi gusto ko pag bago matulog maayos siya. So lilinisin ko siya, tapos minsan nakakapagdilig na rin ako sa gabi. And then yung mga indoor, yung mga halaman sa loob ng bahay, bubuksan ko na yung grow light, titignan ko kung okay sila, tapos magdi-diffuse pa ako ng oils
ng
para
essential oils
sa mga halaman. Yun. Tapos kapag okay na yun, then I'll join them to sleep. Oops.
Okay. So, yung mga kids pala, anong nila? Toka nila? May toka na ba yung ating mga chikiting?
Yes, definitely. Kasi syempre, the life skill yan, di ba? So, yung mga kids namin, pag nagising na kami ng bunso namin, assigned at ano na sila, dapat magligpit na sila ng bed,
Higaan.
ng higaan. Tapos, syempre, lahat ng mga toys na lalaruin nila, kailangan ibalik nila yan sa kung saan nila nakuha. Lahat ng books na gagamitin nila for the day, dapat ibalik din nila kung saan yan, kung saan assigned. And also, tumutulong din sa pag-set up ng table kapag kakain na, mga ganun. Sometimes, natuturuan na din sila, may mga moments na tumutulong din sila sa paghugas ng plato, at least yung pagbanlaw, yung ganun. Yeah.
Tsaka sa pagluluto, minsan tumutulong din.
Yeah.
So kapag, halimbawa, parehas kami nagluluto eh. So halimbawa, kapag nagluluto ako ng mga gulay, so parang ngayon ko lang na recently lang na appreciate ko yung gagayat ng, alam niyo yung string beans, tapos gagayatin siya ng maliliit. Napaka-effort nun, di ba? Nagagayatan mo siya pa isa-isa. So pinapakita ko doon sa mga anak na ganito ginagawa. So at least alam nila na may appreciation sila na ganun palang proseso ng paggawa ng mga kinakain namin. So para at least mas hopefully kainin nila.
Yeah.
So,
Mas involved sa process yung mga mas talagang ma-appreciate nila yung pinrepair nila.
Yes, oo.
And of course, baka dapat i-mention yung challenges ng distance learning, di ba? Kasi actually yun yung isa sa nakadagdag talaga dun sa
malaking burden.
Malaking dinagdag sa trabaho sa bahay. Kasi hindi lang kasi yung time na yon na nandun sila sa kaharap nila yung laptop or tablet, may mga times na kailangan mo pa rin silang i-assist. Diba? Tapos pagkatapos nun, magiging teaching assistant ka din ng mga teacher nila. So parang meron kang panibagong part-time work na maging teaching assistant ng mga bata. Na okay din naman, pero syempre hindi naman kasi kami trained para maging
magturo.
School, 'di ba? Magturo ng mga graders. So medyo challenging siya, and I'm sure maraming makaka-relate diyan. Matetest talaga yung patience mo bilang magulang. Pero yun, isang challenge na I guess kami patuloy pa rin naming inaalam ano yung pinaka-okay na mag-work.
Okay. So, Doc, how do you feel na hands-on houseband si attorney, and paano siya yung pagiging tag team niyo? How did it help yung relationship niyo?
Well, I feel parang walang steer. But I feel lucky that that third is very open to helping out. And before, syempre, alam mo yun, kapag ikaw yung girl, as the other speakers mentioned earlier, there would always be times that you would feel na parang, bakit puro ako na lang? Bakit? Anak naman natin to lahat Bakit, parang, mas ako yung gumagawa sa bahay. But I think with the pandemic, talaga, mas na-open yung time for third, and I guess other fathers also, to do more for their homes and for their family. So I feel lucky because third is very open to it. So for example, I'm very passionate about plants, about water saving, about garbage. So actually we rarely fight, but the small things that we fight about, it's about garbage.
Kasi alam mo ba, kailangan sa bahay namin, syempre yung level 1 ay pag-segregate ng mga nabubulok, hindi nabubulok. Pero sa bahay namin, kailangan level 2 pala, ilalagay mo yung mga plastic na malilinis sa mga plastic bottles. Siksik mo sila lahat doon para kapag binigay sa recycling facility, mas magagamit nila. Pero may level 3, yung mga plastic na madudumi, kailangan silang hugasan, sabunin, and i-dry.
Yes. So
kasama na yun sa
washing the dishes time. So kapag makikita ko yung garbage can namin, may plastic, sabi ko, bakit mo na naman tinapon tong plastic?
Trigger alert pala.
Oo. So yan yung small things that we fight about. Nakakatawa kapag siguro marinig kami ng iba.
Yeah. It's
So, yeah.
good teamwork, no? In closing, no, siguro meron kayong mga tips or mga maipapayo sa mga gustong magkaroon ng tulad niyo magandang harmony and teamwork sa kanilang household.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kami meron lang 3 things siguro na pwede namin consider na tip if you may call it that.
Yeah.
Number 1, important maging open-minded, 'di ba? Kung bukas yung isip kasi sa yung role, 'di ba, ng mag-asawa, mas madali yung sistema ninyo sa gawaing bahay. So kapag bukas yung isip kasi mas madaling, 'di ba? Bukas din yung puso na gawin ito ng buong ng buong pagmamahal. Kasi yung mga bagay na ito hindi naman ginagawa para lamang doon sa asawa, ginagawa to for the family. Kasi ito yung basic siya para mag-function yung pamilya. So maging open-minded yung una.
Yes. And then second is of course to give and take. Syempre meron siyang gustong gawin sa bahay, meron akong gustong gawin. And then so we talk about it and then we adjust. Alam mo yun, depending on although most of the time we agree to what each other wants naman. So I think that's very important. Yan, na mag-give and take kayo, but you wouldn't know what the other would want, right? If you don't communicate very well. So I think in all of these things, communication is the core parang strategy. Yeah. And then last,
pero before nun, give and take. Pero minsan din I'm sure makaka-relate din yung iba na pag merong kadalasan mapag-uusapan nyo kung ano yung kailangan gawin. O ito gawin mo, gawin to. Pero minsan meron ding pagkakataon na ang strategy antayan, di ba? So, antayan kung sino gagawa nito. Minsan nag-work din yon. Tapos kung sino yung, alam mo yun, kung sino yung
pinaka-iritado na sa itsura ng bahay. Siya yung maunang magligpit.
So may mga days din na ganyan. So give and take talaga. So kapag nakita mo na okay, challenge siya sa araw na ito, so kailangan niya ng suporta, so do more work. Pag nakita naman na pagod siya or may nararamdaman, di ba? Ganun talaga. It's part of marriage.
Yes.
And lastly,
then the third is always find out what brings you joy, right? So for us, kasi like for third, it really brings him joy to fix the kitchen. So, kailangan talaga, OC siya dyan. Like in so many other things in life, third is OC about the kitchen. So, I let him do the kitchen. Oh, gusto mo yan, sige, sa'yo yan. Ikaw bahala dyan. but so ako naman, I find joy in terms of like looking for classes for our kids, looking for good toys, yung ganun. Kasi nga condo so we couldn't go out before. So parang part of our compensation is to really look for entertainment for the kids. So like I do that because shopping brings me joy. Even shopping for plants brings me joy, a lot of joy. So sasabihin ko kay third, oy, bibili ako ng halaman pero basta since it brings you joy to take care of them, ikaw bahalang mag-alaga sa kanila. So, mga ganon. So, kailangan lang talaga you understand what brings joy to each other. And third, I think it brings him a lot of joy to go to tennis regularly, and tennis is a sport that is allowed, 'di ba? Because
yun sa COVID.
malayo naman, 'di ba? So it's not an issue if he goes to tennis regularly because I know that it will bring him joy and it's part of his mental health coping also. Ang ko lang is kapag nag-tennis siya, yung mga lahat ng huhugasin, talagang siya talaga. So,
Grand din sa paghuhugas ng
dahil magte-tennis ka, ikaw talaga maghuhugas ng pinggan.
So yun, 3 things, maging open-minded, 'di ba? Dun sa gawaing bahay. Hindi yan na-define ng babae o lalaki. So parehas yan dapat sinishare. Number 2, give and take. Siyempre, kapag mas marami kang binibigay, mas meron ka ring kukuhanin, 'di ba? So give and take. And number 3, hanapin kung ano yung mas nagpapasaya sa'yo dun sa gawaing bahay. And dun kayo mag-focus. So yun.
Right. Thank you very much, Attorney and Doc, for sharing your tag team and your
Our
household
pleasure. Thank
story.
you.
Mukhang need to keep you here dahil we're going to proceed sa open forum natin.
Okay.
And we have been receiving a lot of questions via Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom. And bukod kay Attorney Third and kay Doc, we'll be joined by Miss Leia Payud of Oxfam Philippines to answer some of your questions as best as we can. No? So, Miss Leia, andyan na ba si Miss Leia? Ayan. Hi, Ma'am Leia. Good morning.
Hello po, good morning, maayong buntag. It's so nice to hear the love story and care work story of Attorney Third and Dr. Tina. So encouraging. Good morning din po kay Vice Mayor Leo Jasper. Maupay nga aga, all the way from Samar.
Good morning, Miss Leia.
Kasama na pala natin si Vice Mayor. Kasama rin natin mga kababayan at mga kapuso, si Vice Mayor Leo Jasper Candido. Tama po ba? Candido of Kinapondan, Eastern Samar. Okay. Sir, ako taga Tacloban.
Oh, kasi ngayon waray-waray.
Waray-waray na.
Waray-waray yan ini.
Kasabat.
Maupay kayo sinambot kita hini.
Konti lang. Nakakaintindi. Andito din naman si Vice Mayor. Magkakaroon muna tayo ng open forum before yung ating inspirational message ni Vice Mayor. So some of the questions we received from social media and from our listeners as what government policies are available now on the works countering unpaid care and domestic work. So Miss Leia, can you answer it for Oxfam Philippines? May mga government policies na ba na talagang re-remedyohan itong issue ng unpaid care and domestic work?
Sige, thank you, Bang, for that question. And I think this is a preload to the presentation of Vice Mayor kasi ang sharing ni Vice Mayor later will be their experience as in actual practice, no? Policy and practice.
Yun, sige.
Kung paano isusulong ang usaping women economic empowerment and care. Talagang nagcha-champion sila sa local government units, no? Especially in Eastern Visayas side. So with that, mayroon nga tayong local policy na around We Care. So that's Women Economic Empowerment and Care that actually promotes gender equitable division of unpaid care and domestic work that recognizes the specific areas on where nandun yung ating policy advocacy. So that one is on recognition that unpaid care work is work, and that unpaid care work is a key that needs to be addressed to achieve national growth and development goals. So that actually includes dun sa napag-usapan kanina with PCW, no, around complying on SDG 5.4. That's basically talking about gender equality, and its indicator, the SDG 5.4.1, talks about unpaid care. So basically, talagang as the Philippine government, we are to report kung ano nga ba yung proportion of time spent on unpaid care and domestic work, even up to the level of sex, age, and location. So kasi doon talaga natin nakikita kung as government, paano nga ba natin maayos yung mga programs and services na talagang magre-reduce at magre-redistribute ng unpaid care work among other members of the family and in the community. So that's one, no? So may ongoing effort tayo dyan. And speaking about policy win, so far sa mga area kung saan nag-work si Oxfam, mayroon na tayong at least 28 local government units na nagsusulong na on women economic and care local legislation. And mamaya nga pag-usapan yan ni yung actual experience ng local government unit of Kinapundan. So Vice Mayor will tell us their story. So that's at the local level. Actually, that's also very much parang in line to the local government code, particularly section 16, kung saan talks about general welfare. Of course, alam ito ni Attorney Third, no? That's basically the section around every local government unit shall ensure na ma-promote ang health and safety ng lahat ng kanyang constituents, and that also enhance the right of people to a balanced ecology, encourage and support the development of appropriate and self-reliant scientific and technological capabilities, improve public morals, enhance economic prosperity and social justice. Basically, doon natin kinukuha kung bakit nga ba kailangang mag-enact ng local policies ang local government units, kasi they have that general welfare clause na kailangang hindi dapat na iwanan yung mga kababaihan, lalong-lalo na in rural and urban communities. So at earlier na-mention din yun ni Didi Cristino na mayroon din tayong Magna Carta for Women, and that Magna Carta for Women is also our basis of really promoting the welfare and support the anti-discrimination measures, as well as positive initiatives such as workplace childcare, breastfeeding stations, and paid maternity leaves. No, pinasa yan noong 2009, and we hope to continue the conversation, lalong-lalo na yung practice talaga niya. Kasi di ba kasama din sa tinitingnan natin ngayon yung workplace. Kumusta nga ba ang policies ng workplace? No, does it support the change of work arrangement, lalong-lalo na sa mga nag-work from home? Medyo nakakalimutan natin na when you are working from home, the pressure doubles as well. Hindi lang on unpaid care, but also the pressure for you to comply on your own pace, no? So, pero kailangan nating kailangan nating i-promote yung flexible hours, yung extended parental leaves for both men and women, lalong-lalo na nandun sa private sector, nagtatrabaho sa private sector. So, yun ang what we are, yung mga policies na yun ang medyo very close to the current initiatives natin around talking about care economy. But of course, mayroon pang maraming mga policies yan. But so far, ito yung talagang nagbibigay sa atin ng legal basis. Bakit nga ba natin ito sinusulong?
Thank you,
So yun
Ma'am
lang po.
for a very comprehensive breakdown ng talagang approach and mga responses para dito sa issue na ito. So, revert ko lang ulit meron tayong message sa ating lovebirds kasama natin ngayong umaga. Mabuhay po mga bagro. Iba. Any advice for fathers who have not yet realized that they need to do more unpaid care work? That's for attorney. Tapos for Doc naman, any tips for mothers na kailangan kumbinsihin si daddy na mag-step up? Sino una?
Mahirap yung tanong, ha? Malalim yung tanong na yan. Any advice sa mga fathers na hindi pa open-minded, ika nga, di ba? Doon sa ganyan.
Tatay ako lang yung pagsilbihan nyo ako. Ganun. Ganun.
Yeah, that's a traditional kasi, di ba?
I'm not even sure if I'm qualified to answer that question, pero sa tingin ko, importante for fathers na actually ngayong pandemic, sabi nga kanina, yung pandemic malaking oportunidad din kasi para makita ng mga tatay, lalo na yung mga nag-work from home, kung gaano kahirap ang ginagawa sa isang bahay, 'di ba? Para ma-ensure na yung bahay ay maayos at maaliwalas para sa lahat. Kasi kung magulo yung bahay, kung hindi maaliwalas yun, hindi rin makakapagtrabaho yung mga nandoon, hindi matututo yung mga bata, 'di ba? So I guess para sa sa fathers, number one, nafo-force na tayo ngayon to observe. So tingnan natin, obserbahan natin kung ano yung nangyayari sa bahay mula pagkagising natin hanggang dulo. Lahat ng mga bagay na yun, ano bang, kumaga para lang makita natin yung big picture, di ba? Obserbahan natin lahat ng nangyayari sa bahay. At feeling ko, kapag nagawa natin yun, pag nagkaroon tayo ng big picture ng lahat ng nangyayari sa bahay, makikita natin na, okay, kailangan pala ng tulong kasi napakabigat nung kailangan gawin. And yung pangalawa, isipin natin na hindi natin to ginagawa para sa sarili natin, ginagawa natin to para doon sa pamilya.